But now looking at the whys, as we've already said, as we've already talked about, there should be some consequences to the introduction of these banknotes. I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Charles to tell us some of the advantages of the introduction of these banknotes, as he already started to. Thank you.
Okay, like I was already stating, well, first and foremost, the advantages, like we are already seeing, is counterfeiting, is to combat counterfeiting and falsification of the currency. And then there's another aspect that we also forgot. Like you already mentioned it in another way. Like they are trying to improve on the currency. Like if we look in the currency, the new old currency, we see that there are many. It's very sure that it have been torn, others have been old, and then others have been rats have eaten some and all one note. So what they do is that they look at the old currency and they try to increase the durability of the new currency that they are introducing, and then embezzlement too, like I already said, and then as the new currency is coming, we might not know if the value might change. It's also based on the exchange market too. Because I was reading on Twitter today and I was like, some people are already foreseeing that maybe the Naira is going to increase because it was facing some fallouts. With an introduction, it might fight other currency and the value might increase. So those are the few advantages that I know of now.
I want to add that as an advantage for introducing a new currency. Like I started saying in the why, it's kind of entangled with the advantages, because I said money has some general principle characteristics that good money is supposed to have, like the general acceptability, divisibility, portability, as well as the aesthetic value of the money also matters. So, not to emphasize on what Charles have said, money is there to fight hoarding, meaning that people have been keeping money in their houses. They are going to be forced to re-inject back the money into circulation. Another advantage of introducing new series of banknotes is to actually make the central bank to have a complete grasp of the quantity of money that is in circulation, because monetary policy, like of the central bank, is based on controlling by the supply of money, since the demand of money depends on the hands of the individuals and economic agents in society. So by trying to introduce new banknotes, it helps the government to be able to ascertain well the quantity of money in circulation, as well as it helps them to determine the velocity of circulation of money. How well does money changes hand from one individual to another? And looking at that, if the government already has, or the central bank already has a complete mastery of the quantity of money, it helps them to be able to execute well their monetary policy, so that it can help to stabilize the economy within and even with respect to our exchange rates as well as international reserves. So as an added advantage to what Charles has said, I wanted to emphasize on this other aspect of monetary policy control. Introducing new banknotes helps a lot in that, curbs the level of corruption. And in the case of Semaxon, to be specific, I feel that the introduction of new banknotes is coming in as, I don't know, some people will see that a disadvantage, but an advantage in the sense that the Cameroonian economy is showing their stronger commitment to their international ties with France that have existed for a long while. Because there were already rumors that people were thinking that the franc CFA was supposed to go as an independent currency, or with the rumors of the ECO that were very significant last year, that the ECOWAS were looking forward to create a new currency. So I think the renewal of these currencies with the same body of administration, which is BIAC, and under the banner of the franc CFA, is also another proof to show that commitment is renewed, and in terms of our trade and other economic ties. So thank you. I think that's all added to what Charles has already mentioned.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gills. I have a question for you, though. Part of a disadvantage, which I think might actually be influenced by the new introduction of the new currency, could it be that it can cause a price hike on certain products? Like, for instance, maybe customers or merchants are not willing to be exchanging the new notes and are still stuck on the old notes.
All right, thanks for that question. I think there is always, like in what we say in physics, the law of inertia, that there's always a tendency that people don't like to give up old habits. And it reminds me of a quick story this morning. Like one of my classmates was saying that he had to enter a taxi and the taxman was refusing the new banknotes for the old one. It looks quite funny, but the problem is still the aspect of the fact that it is new. But with time, when people see it circulating, it's going to absorb into the economy effectively. Given the fact that it also had a deadline for the old currency to be absorbed. So I don't think it's a matter of the fact that it's going to change the price level, given that the notes are introduced in the same denomination. It can have an economic impact in the sense where the denominations are being modified. Maybe if we introduce maybe newer notes like maybe 250 francs note or 750 francs note or different denominations. But if they maintain the same denominations on the currency, the denomination is the face value of the currency of the money. If they maintain the face value of the money, it doesn't actually affect the economic agents that much, in my own opinion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Giles. Yeah, Gemma, can you say?
If we are, I was still stuck on the why, but I think if we're part, I may have some other questions as well. First of all, I want us to talk about equally the e-naira. I think it's called the e-naira, the electronic naira in Nigeria. And I read somewhere that they were limiting the amount of money people could cash out of their bank accounts to kind of push that e-naira. So I want to ask about that concerning the context of Cameroon as well. Is there no e-Cameroon or e-France in view? And secondly, I also wanted to find out if there's not maybe a hidden agenda behind this new currency. Like you said earlier, it's been more than 20 years since a new currency was introduced. So was there something that triggered this? Is it maybe the different things happening around the world? Or is there kind of a hidden? Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Before you give us your answer, I wanted to add to what Real Gemma just said. Yeah, talking about the e-naira, I don't have much about that, but just like he's asking if there is some kind of agenda. As we were talking, I was thinking, which we'll still explore a bit. Do you think the introduction of this new currency to the agenda could be to help enforce the new tax reforms, especially for Cameroon that are coming next year, 2023?
Oh, all right. Okay, let me start from Gemma. Gemma. Okay. Okay. Your question has concerned to the limitation in terms of the withdrawal of naira. I think it's a good strategy. Because you limit the number of people that can come out. People transact electronically, and eventually, when they want to cash out money, will come out with a new series. But coming to the context of Cameroon, I don't think I've seen how the clear-cut strategy, apart from the deadline, the deadline which has been put in place, that before this date, the old notes are going to be obsolete. So I think it's just in Cameroon, I think it's more of a cohesive kind of approach that have been put in place. Like after this period of time, you still have the old notes, you'll be left wanting with it. So Cameroon doesn't yet have a policy that I know that can absorb the other currency as fast as possible. But coming to a hidden agenda, like I said in the advantages, I don't know, I said that one advantage could sound like a disadvantage in the sense that these new notes are also a firm commitment that Cameroon is assuring that they are still in good ties with the French economy. That reassurance, because I said that from the end of towards the end of this year, there were a lot of rumors, especially with African countries, whether we are going to continue with the franc CFA or not. And last year, there are also a lot of debate and a lot of efforts being galvanized towards the issue of a currency independent within the ECOWAS zone, which was supposed to be called ECO. But after some time, it has gradually actually died off. And I think one of the main reasons for this new currency is also to reaffirm their commitment. So if you look at it as a hidden agenda, I think you might be right in that sense. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Giles. Yeah, Mr. Charles, the floor is yours.
Yes, I concur with what Mr. Gibbs is saying, because like he stated, there have been so much rumors about people trying to see that CEMAC as a whole, they should leave the French franc and the franc CFA and go into their own currency. And it's like France was just in a particular tight spot looking at how the debate's going on. And then reintroducing it this time, I think that is just a time bomb to shut people up. And there's a doubt that I'm having about the reintroduction of the new currency, which is going to come like a disadvantage as well, because if we go to places like Marwa or those places like Furawa, where like we're already talking about acceptability, people are facing difficulties accepting the new currency. Places where, because the only medium to bring in the currency is through banks. Places like Furawa and Ekok, where there are only few banks, how are people going to really get the touch of the new currency? How are people going to really receive the new currency? Take into consideration that there are few microfinances in such areas, because like here in town, we're just opportune to have financial institutions that get in touch with banks and get the new currency. Places like I just mentioned, Furawa, Ekok, where few financial institutions are there, and money just in circulation between farmers, small petty business people. How are they really going to take the new currency? I don't know if Mr. Gates can attempt an answer to, because it's just a worry I have. which I feel is just like an advantage, a disadvantage to the new
Okay.
currency.
If I might just add on to the question as well, how about those institutions which just have money stored, like reserved, and it's maybe kept and piled up for a particular purpose, not necessarily banks, but or even microfinances. Somebody might have it just his business where he kind of gets money and transacts some money. So how about those businesses? So I feel like that's also a concern. Like you might not, just to add to that, it's like you might not always, there are many businesses that don't keep records and that might not be able to justify the amount. They might be able to justify their business, but not necessarily the amount that they make. So how about those businesses? Thank you.
All right, for the questions, I'll start with what Mr. Chan just asked. I think one of the main issues that Cameroon has been facing is the aspect of bankarization. Like one of the policies that was re-emphasized in our vision 2035, 2035 that has been reshaped again now to what we call this the SND trunk, or what we call in English the National Development Strategy for 2030. One of the issues that has been raised there is to how can Cameroon and other SEMA countries be able to increase the level of bankarization. And bankarization goes in line with what we call financial inclusion. And the advantage that we have now in our modern era is the coming in place of mobile money. I think in those extreme areas, like in those villages, I think there are some few mobile agents there that could actually be galvanizing funds, like gather a huge amount of funds and then be having access to city dwellers where the exchange could be done. So I think in those extreme areas, we cannot really count much on financial institutions or banks to do the exchange, but maybe these big operators for mobile banking or mobile money transfers. And then coming to Gemma's questions about the institutions in terms of accountability, because most institutions don't declare their taxes well and they might have a tendency of, I think it's not only institutions, because they're individuals, like we said, people that have embezzled money and stored in some banks somewhere in their houses. I said one thing here, and I'm still emphasizing on the fact that irrespective of the medium, they could decide and spread the money through different people to change the money for them. But the advantage that the central bank is looking at here is not about trying to catch those who are hoarding money or those who are keeping money in their safety, but is to reassure that they want to know the quantity of money that is in circulation, because they can only change money through these main institutions. And those are the main institutions that the central bank also introduces their monetary policy. The central bank will not announce the monetary policy in the road and it will affect individuals, but they have to pass through the main banks and financial institutions. So I think in that sense, their method of changing the money could be that they can redistribute the money to different agents to change, but it's not the objective of the central bank how they bring back the money into the economy. But the central bank is like, if this money has been lying idle, coming back in this to change, not all of it will go back to the safekeeping. Some of it will have an impact in the economy before going back. Because what gives value to money is not the quantity, but the what we call velocity of circulation of money. How fast does money change hands? That's why I can bet with you that there are many business people that run on debt, having huge expenses to pay. But the fact that they touch money frequently and change money frequently, they actually make more profit than those who actually don't that have money stagnant. So thank you. I think I've attempted an answer to that. If any worries, you will discuss further or other people can intervene. Thank you.